I think I won. Okay. So I know I was supposed to go live at 12, but I decided that I wanted to get the last 4 episodes done of the season 1, just because of the next, after 10 and 11, the episodes that we will be dealing with do hit close to home, and I do not want to cover them tomorrow because tomorrow is my grandmother's birthday, so I just really don't want to have them listen to really uh, deal with that as far as what the last 2 episodes are. So we're gonna go ahead and do 10 and 11 right now, and then I'm gonna stop this stream, and then we'll go right into 12 and 13 and just finish it out, and then tomorrow or Sunday we will start season 2. Yay, so we're getting close to season 4. I'm so excited. Gonna take a little bit longer to get through. Once we get past season 2, it's gonna take a little bit longer to get through season 3 because there's a lot more episodes in season 3. So, anyways, so I have changed just a little housekeeping information. Uh-oh. You might hear Snowball in the background because he is feeling a little bit better, so he is a little bit more mouthy. And the fan is going as well, so that might be a little bit loud. Um, co-host in the background, can you hear me okay? Um, so just a couple of things. I changed my YouTube handle over the evening. I decided to do that since I am now branching out into a new venue here or a new adventure. So therefore, so my new YouTube handle is Mandy Reviews. Woohoo! And I did change my description as well. So that's that. Also, in the description box below, we have the We're Not Done Yet podcast link, along with the Review Circle channel link. And then also, do not forget to do the YouTube things, like, share, subscribe, and turn on those bell notifications. And I think that's it. I'm wanting to get, hold on. Yep, okay. Let me turn down, oh, okay, move down. Turn on the chat, my chat. To all messages, just so that I can see on my phone. I know a lot of YouTubers do that. They look at their phone for chat messages, but I also look on my Facebook Messenger because that's where co-hosts in the background will message me mostly. Sometimes she'll message me on live, but we'll just go from there. So, anyways, thanks co-host in the background. Yeah, I figured I would change it up since I'm kind of like moving a little bit away from what I wanted to do in the beginning, so therefore that's why I changed it. So today, like I said, I'm gonna kind of go through these quickly because I also just want to get through the first 2 episodes quickly. And also, well, technically, um, 12 and 13 is part 1 and part 2 of the season finale of season 1, so I'm going to call it 3 episodes. So the 3 episodes that we're going to cover today are all very, the content or the subject matter is very sensitive. So I'm going to be very careful on how I mention things and talk about them. So within season 10, episode 10, the episode is called Small Surprises. And basically, what happens in this episode is that we open with a doctor's office soon, and Karen's at the doctor's office, and we come to find out that it's an OBGYN, and we see that she is rather nervous about whatever's going on. We don't know what's going on in this opening scene. All we know is that she's at the doctor's office for a checkup, and then the doctor calls her back to talk with her, and and again, these episodes kind of cut out, kind of funny. So then the next thing that we see is that Ginger and pulled up. Eric sees, Ginger sees Eric and introduces him to her sister Jill. And we see now from the previous episode that now that he is introduced to Jill, Eric is done with Ginger. You know, like he has eyes for Jill. He's he's smitten with Jill. And then he tells Jill, "Oh well, you can ride my sister's bike if you want." And she asks Eric, "Well, which house is yours?" And she goes, "Well, the one in the middle." And she goes, "I was hoping you would say that." And she goes, "Why?" And she goes, "Because it's the one with the hoop, and I love to play basketball." So then her and Eric play basketball. And then we're back at the doctor's office, and the doctor tells Karen that she was worried and that she is pregnant. She's going to have a baby. However, Karen is not sure how she really feels about it. Um, because she is concerned about complications with the pregnancy and her age. Now, I do have to say that my mom was an older mom, so therefore I can kind of see that. And my mom and both of her sisters both lost babies, as well as a, I want to say at least two of my cousins that I know of, and I think my other cousin, but I'm not sure if my one cousin did or not because she never really talked about it. But I do know that at least two of my cousins did have miscarriages. Um, at least one miscarriage. Um, so that is a concern that Karen was having. So that kind of runs in the family. So that's kind of why I say that these next episodes are kind of very sensitive. Um, and then the doctor is kind of surprised that Karen's not more excited about it, and and the doctor does tell Karen that there are options. Now, I'm just going to say that there are options, and I'm just not going to say exactly, speculate on what Karen is thinking throughout this episode. I'm not going to mention the options. I think we all know what they are, but and we'll also just say this that like there's a lot this came around a time where this was talked about. It was in the mainstream news and all this stuff, and women having choices, women's lib, and all that. It was right on the cusp of that. And again, I think that plays into some songs that are also referenced by that as well. But we'll not go into that right now. Then the next thing that we see is that Joe and Eric are playing basketball. However, Eric is being careful because Jill was a girl and he doesn't want to hurt her. However, Jill tells him to forget that she is a girl and to really play basketball with her. And he says, "Okay." Well, then the next thing we know, he knocks her down, which I think is kind of funny. And she was like, and Jill goes, "Now, see, that's what I'm talking about. Come on, forget I'm a girl." Um, and then we continue to see them playing, and then we see that Karen pulls up into the drive, does not notice Eric and Joe playing basketball, and Karen is just sitting in the driveway, and Eric is like, "Hey, Mom, we're playing basketball here." And then she's like, "What?" And then Lauren tells Karen that the kids are playing basketball. And then, so then Karen pulled out of the driveway, and she parks the car. She gets out of the car, and then, they were just talking about, just having like sidewalk chatter. And then Laura says, "Basketball today, tomorrow, who knows?" And Karen didn't take that very well. She was like, "That's not funny, Laura." And then she walks away, and Laura asks Val, "What did I say? Did I say something wrong? I didn't mean to." And Val goes, "No, I didn't. I don't think she did. I don't think she did either. But that's just me." Um, Hang on. I kind of want to test something. Let me see if I can do something real quick. Just so that they're not looking at my screen there. Just kind of want to see something. Trying to pull something up here. Okay. Go back up to that. Okay, so just bear with me. I just kind of want to see something. I'm just kind of working on something. So just give me 1 second. Oops. Let me go back. Because this is kind of something that I assume other creators do. So I just kind of want to see how this works. Go back up and see. Is it down? No, I want to go up. Look up. Okay. Damn, I wish I could go all the way up there. Hold on. Let me see if I can make this screen a little bit bigger here. Let's do this. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? That's a good idea. Let me go a different way. Let me go to my email here. And moving up. I know. Co-host in the background. I'm okay. Dismiss. Okay, hold on. Let me go to my mail. Okay, let me go back to my downloads and I want to see something real quick. See if I can pull that back up. It's not. Alright, just bear with me. I'm just trying something really quick. If this works, then I won't have to do it during the next episode. I just kind of want to see. For some reason, it's just too for a minute to go all the way up. Come on. I hope everyone is having a good day. And I would love it if you guys could leave comments in the comment section down below once the live is over. I would love to interact with y'all. Just hold on 1 second. I'm almost there. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm on July 1st. Where is today? Come on. Today. There we go. Okay. Let me pull this out. Let's see if I can pull this out. Real quick. Dismiss. Okay. Pull that out. Open. Okay. Let's see if I can move this a little bit. Height. Let me see. Copy and load to. Let me see if I can pull it up just a little bit. Nope. This one? Nope. Hold on. Close. Okay, that's not gonna work. Okay, let's see. Alright, let's see if I can. More options. Save ads. Okay. That's fine. Okay, so simple. 2, 1. Okay. Oh, cancel. Let's just do 2, 2. Okay. Alright, so now let me see if I can do this. This is something new that I'm learning, so just bear with me. Alright, so let me see if I can do this real quick. Image file. Let me see if I can share image. Oh. Mm-hmm. We'll see how this works out. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Open. I'm not exactly sure if anything happened there. Oh, yeah, you can see it. Okay, perfect. All right, that's what I wanted. Okay. All right. Woohoo! I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it. All right. So that way you guys just not looking at my ugly little circle there. All right. Blah, blah, blah. So then, and then Eric and Joe continue. And then we see that Karen goes upstairs and Diana calls her into her room, into Diana's room. And Diana says, Mother, look at this room. This is a baby room. I want to redecorate it and I want to make it more mature and look more presentable like a woman's room. And then they just kind of have this little discussion about it. And Karen tells her not to wish her life away. She goes, don't wish your life away. And Karen leaves the room and says, don't wish your life away. What does that mean? And then we see that Eric is downstairs outside waiting for his dad. So Sid comes home and Eric wants to talk to him about taking Jill to a movie. However, he doesn't want Sid to drive home. He wants to take a taxi to the movie. So Sid gives him money and then asks what his mother thought about it. And Eric says, I didn't ask her. She's in a funny mood. And Sid says, a funny mood? And Eric goes, yeah. She goes, I don't know what's wrong with her. And then the next scene is we see that Karen is in the kitchen. And this is the first scene that I think that we've seen in the series, that Karen is in the kitchen distracted and she drops something or she's just kind of thinking or whatever. I think this is the first scene that we actually see her in a kitchen setting so frustrated. And then she, like I said, she drops a plate and then Sid calls out and then he comes in and Sid says that she seems to serve and Karen said that she isn't and then tells Sid that she wants to talk to him a little bit later. And then we see that Eric and Jill come back from the movies and he walks her to Ginger's house. And then Jill asks Eric to go to a party at the beach with her friends and then they kiss. And then Sid asks Karen if she's okay to talk now. And she says, yeah, yeah, it's a good time to talk. I'm trying to see where this episode ends. I think it's gonna be okay. Alright, I got a little bit more notes to go. And so Karen is nervous to tell him that she is pregnant. However, Sid has no idea what's really going on. And Karen tells him that, she is 37 and knows who she is in life, has raised 3 kids, with the oldest being 16 and Michael, I'm not sure, maybe he's 10 at this point. And then this is where we go with Karen. I think this is Karen's first speech in the series, where she tells him that she is pregnant. However, Sid is happy, and she wants to know how Sid really felt when Karen did first tell him. And Sid said that, he was like, we'll have a baby. However, Karen is not thrilled. And then it's the next morning, and we are in Karen and Sid's room, and it looks like that Karen has been up all night thinking about what what she wants to do with all of this. And Sid wakes up and asks her, you're up early. And she goes, yeah, I'm just thinking about what to do. She goes, I don't know how I'm doing about all this. And Sid doesn't understand. And it sounds like Karen is unsure, and Sid says that we don't have much choice. And Sid says and Sid says we do not have much choice. We're going to have a baby. And Karen says that it is her body and that she can decide for herself what she wants to do. And then Diana hears the yelling and the arguing. And then Diana comes in the room and says what's going on. And then Sid tells Diana that Karen is pregnant. And then Diana is not happy about it. And then Diana and Karen end up fighting about it. And then the next scene we see is that Eric and Michael are in the kitchen. Diana comes down, starts banging around and all this good stuff. And Eric and Diana comes downstairs and tells them that, their mother's going to have a baby. And at first they don't believe her. And that's a joke. And Michael's like, I think it's a good idea. And then and then I wrote down good news or bad news travels fast in the Farragut household, and that continues throughout the whole series. But whether it be the Farragut household or the Mackenzie household, um, but the boys did ask that, so then then she told them what was going on. And then Val walks in, and Michael tells Val that Karen is going to have a baby. And then Karen tells Val to keep it a secret, that she doesn't really want everyone to know about it. And then the next, I'm trying to think if I'm missing something. I feel like I am, but I'm not sure what. So it's the next scene, and we see that Eric is getting ready for the party, and Sid in Karen's bathroom. Sid walks in and asks about Jill, and Eric says, yeah, we're just gonna go to a party and that they'll be home late, or that they'll be home early. And then we are at the party, and there is some drinking at the beach with young adults or young teenagers. And Eric feels like he is feeling peer pressure, and this kind of sets the scene, I think, a little bit with episodes 12 and 13, and we'll get there. And then then we see that Karen is trying to get some work done. Then Sid asks what about what's going on, or Sid asks her about her coming up to bed, and then Karen goes, well, I'm just trying to get this taken care of. And she goes, if I'm gonna be out for a year, then the fundraiser is gonna have to the community work that you're doing is gonna have to be put off, or the funding is gonna run out within the next year. And says that, well, that's okay, they can manage without you, it's not like you have a career. And that hits home with Karen, because Karen thinks that her volunteer work is a career. And I think that's true too, like if we as people are volunteering on a regular basis, then that is a full-time job. It's not like just because she's not making any money doesn't mean that she's not working. And then Karen tells Sid to stay downstairs for a while because she doesn't feel like being judged, and that's exactly what Sid is doing, is that Sid is trying to judge her, and she doesn't want to be around him right now. And then we are back at the party, and everyone is coupling up, starting to kiss and make out, and even Eric and Joe kind of kiss, and then Eric decides that he wants to leave and that he's just uncomfortable, and so then Eric does leave Joe, and then Joe runs off to be with her friends. And then it's the next morning, we are back at the Fairgates, and Karen sees, it's still the same night. We are back at the Fairgates, and Karen sees Sid in the garage and comes downstairs and apologizes to him. Karen talks about the first time she was pregnant with Diana, and how she was so scared to tell Sid about it, and how the fact that they were not married was even more scary for her. And then she had so many plans. She was about to graduate, and however, she did put those dreams on hold. And she tells Sid that she has always felt a little incomplete without her work. and that she wants, and now that she has a chance, she wants to do those things. She wants to have a life, and she can focus on the things that she wants to do on herself. Sid doesn't seem to understand how Karen feels, and Sid tells Karen how he feels and how that he feels that he did give up his dream. However, he is more than happy, and it's more than enough for him. But I say that he is so then clueless on how Karen feels at this point. Um, and she walks out, and Karen is hurt, and she said, and she starts to cry. So then it's the next morning. Sid takes the kids roller skating so to give Karen some time to be by herself and to think and process everything. And then we see that Karen is in bed, and she was kind of bored without her family being there. So then she gets up and starts to go downstairs, closes, I want to say, Eric's room, and then she comes back upstairs and starts to clean the rooms from room to room. And then when she gets to Michael's room, she finds a card from Michael while she's cleaning up. And then we're at Ginger's, where she asked Jill how the party went, and Jill said that it went okay, and that Eric left there early, and how Eric felt like he would look uncool. Oh, Kenny said that Eric felt like he would look uncool if he stayed at the party and they weren't making, and that they weren't doing what the other kids were doing, and that Eric was very shy and just doesn't want to, play into all that. And then Ginger tries to talk about an experience that she had, but then Kenny stops her. And then we're at the park, I guess, where the kids and Sid are roller skating, and Diane, they're talking about the baby, and how Diana says that she doesn't want another baby because she has enough trouble taking care of Michael and Eric. um, and however, Michael wants the baby, and so does Eric, and Michael doesn't understand what Sid is saying, and I think that Sid is kind of starting to finding his way into telling the kids what he thinks that Karen would need, and encourages the kids to help out around the house. And then we plan back to Karen still cleaning, and this is where she finds the card, and she sits on the bed and she's smiling, and then she is. Then the next thing is that we see that she's waiting for them to come home, and then tells everybody to sit down after Diana asks about the dishes and the taking out the trash or whatever. And then she tells everyone to sit down, and then tells them that they are going out to dinner and that it is on her, and that she tells them that she's having the baby and that she is happy, and she wants a baby because she tells them that she sees a little bit of them. She sees a little bit of her in each of them, and she sees a little bit of them and her, and that means so much to her. And then she tells them about what it is that she sees in each of them. And then Michael and Eric goes upstairs, and then Diana stays downstairs for a minute, and Diana does apologize to Karen about the fact that they got into the fight the other day. However, Diana did say that she just didn't want to share her with anyone else. And Karen says, well, I understand that. I didn't want to share my body with anyone else. And then then Diana goes upstairs, and then she looks at Sid and tells Sid that, she loves him. And then we see, as a little bit later, Eric is on the couch dressed, and then Sid comes downstairs and asks Eric about what happened at the beach the night before, And then Eric says, well, I left early. And Sid has the wrong idea. Sid tries to tell him he knows how he feels, that the girls that are really the ones that, don't want to, are very nervous about it. And Eric is like, no, Dad, you got it all wrong. He has it backwards. And Sid, again, is so clueless. And then the next thing is that we see that the Sergeys are out to dinner, and Karen is happy to us, and then hanging on to every word about what's going on. Um, However, Karen seems that she's not feeling very well, and then Diana asks about Eric's day, and Eric goes, "Come on, Diana, leave me alone about it." And then Karen gets up and goes to the bathroom, and then the next thing we see that the waitress or the hostess comes over and tells Sid that she needs to talk to him, and she said that comes Sid goes to the hostess table, and she said that Karen's not feeling well, and that she's laying down in the bathroom. However, they did call the hospital for Karen, and this is heartbreaking because once Karen is wanting to have the child, the baby, but then it's come to find out that Karen does end up losing the baby. So we are at the hospital the next scene, and then that's when we find out that Karen lost the baby. Sid and children are there, and then Gary and Val pull up, come to the hospital to take the kids home so they can get a good night's sleep. And Sid tells Gary that she doesn't know how Karen is doing at this point, but that he just wants Val and Gary to take the kids home. And then the doctor comes out, tells Sid that he can take Karen home the next morning, and then encourages him to go sit in with Karen for a little while she's sleeping because she does get a sedative. However, he goes into the room and then he himself falls asleep as well. And then the next morning, he wakes up to Karen looking at him, and then Karen said that she is feeling different, and then Sid comforts her. Karen tells Sid about her strange dream. I'm not going to go into the dream, but if you guys want to watch it, you can pull it up. It's near the end of the episode. However, Karen apologizes to Sid about losing the baby, and then Sid makes her feel better and says, I'm more than happy, we have what we started with, and that makes Karen laugh. And then Karen says that she is too old anyway to have a baby. And then the next thing is that we see that Joe goes to see Eric as he's getting on his bike and tells him about the party and tells him that, she respects him about his decision to leave early, and then asks him to play one-on-one, really this time. And then we're back at the hospital. Karen tells Sid that she wants to walk. However, as we all know, it's hospital policy that a patient has to be wheeled out in a wheelchair. And then the elevator doors open up, and then Karen sees a mother and a new baby, and that just breaks her heart. And then we finally see Laura and Richard together. This is the first sighting that we've seen of Richard watching the cars and Jason running around the neighborhood, and then Kenny taking pictures of Joe and Gary, Joe and Eric playing basketball. And then we see Diana and Michael coming out of the house fighting, just play fighting, I think. And then we see Val, Gary, and Ginger watching them. And then we see that Karen and Sid come home and breaks up the game again. However, we don't see them move the car, but we see that they do return to the game at some point. and then Karen and Sid get out of the car, and the whole neighborhood is there. I think that that's why they did that, because all their friends and family are outside welcoming her home, and they ask, how she's doing, and Karen says, "Oh, I'm fine," and things just kind of return to normal, which I gotta give her props for that. I don't know how I would feel about that. And then she goes, "Eric, don't get. I can't. Poor. um. So Karen tells Eric not to get the basketball on the grass. Hey, and tells Diana and Michael to stop braiding. And then as she's walking into the house, she says, "Anybody want coffee?" And so then that's just the way that it is. Uh, just a minute. Okay. So that is that episode. Co-host in the background. How was that breakdown? Was that like pretty quick? That breakdown, but this episode is really not a lot to explain in this episode, so therefore, um, I'm not exactly sure what to. Um, so co-host in the background, how was that breakdown? That was just like quick and easy, pretty self-explanatory episode. Any thoughts? Do I have it okay? So let's just talk about the couples real quick while I wait for that. So again, this episode is very Karen and Sid heavy. With the baby storyline, and I think that that's the one thing about Knots is that they took a lot of they they took a lot of yeah, I can show now. They took a lot of um a lot of topics at the time, and I think that in today's society that is even relatable to today's episode, to today's world, and I'm even for more so in 2026 with some of the new rulings that have happened in certain states and with women's health care and all that jazz. And I'm not going to get political about it, but it's almost like we're kind of going backwards on this. So I just think that that's very controversial episode. That's kind of why I was like, um, that's kind of like why I wanted to be careful with the words I say because of the truths of you won't necessarily let us say different words about this. So um, so as with that, and then so as with that, and the fact that and it's very prevalent in today's society. And I think that we can talk about this now. And I think that this needs to be a conversation that we have, whether it be, you know, political or not. This is a conversation because women's health is important, and we don't get a lot of the health care that we need. And I, and not just with whether or not to have a baby, but just with all the, like with insurance issues and women's health, it's not like considered preventative medicine, only certain parts of it, If women need to have certain surgeries, it's not covered. And that makes me so mad. So that's all I'll say on that topic, but I think the fact that, that is still relatable today. And, and even it showed how maybe even in today's society that some men may still feel the same way that Sid felt at the beginning of the episode, to where like, we're gonna have this baby no matter what, and I think that, there are still some men who believe that way. But it's just, it just needs to be talked more about, whether it be us women amongst ourselves or with doctors or with males, or have like um have like panels about it, because I think that panels would be a good way to have it, whether it be like everyday women or women who have had, because there's a lot of talk about women who may or may not have the gene for cancer, but then for them to take care of it, they're being told that they can't do it, so that's why I'm not on that. But, and then again, with the women and the men having this conversation, not just within their own homes, but even maybe with therapy, maybe sometimes therapy is needed. Um, uh, and I'm trying to think, I don't think that there was a lot of other couples in the episode. I think it just was very, we did see Ginger and Kenny, but that was more for Eric. And I think that they did give Eric and Jill a storyline to kind of be a component with what Karen's going through, to show how, that sometimes it's not just men who may be pressuring others, but maybe it's also the ladies who may pressure the guys. And I think and it shows how some guys um, can still be honorable and respect women. And I think that is still very important in today's society as well. Oh, excuse me. So I think that that's good. The other thing that I think was real good, I'm trying to think, is how Karen's kids all kind of came together near the end, and it was like that they ended up being happy and that they wanted this other child. And, the one thing that I didn't mention is that, when Karen and Diana were having that conversation about when Diana apologized about um, fighting, and Karen goes, hey, I'm hoping for a girl. And Diana goes, I know, me too, we're kind of outnumbered anyways, right? So she goes, yeah. And so that was kind of sweet. That was a sweet moment. Gary and Val, we just saw them really when they went to go pick up the kids from the hospital, and then at the end of the episode, we only saw Laura once, and then we saw Richard once. No, we saw Laura twice. And then we saw Richard once when he was just playing around with Laura while they were washing the cars. So I think that that's really all there is to that episode. It was just very Sid and Karen heavy with this episode. I mean, so there's really not a lot of other things to break down other than that. So, co-host in the background, you got anything else to say? Or I pull off this episode or this scene? And I'm sure at the ending this soon, I think I'm just going to jump right into 12 and 13, because I think that, well, I don't know. We'll see once I get into the next episode. We'll see how far I get. So, Alright, I'm going to close this out. Go back all. Oh, hold on. Yeah. It's wanting to start the next episode, and I'm not ready to start the next episode yet. Wow. Okay. So here's a scene that I picked from Small Surprises. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Let me turn the volume off. And then also co-host in the background, tell me about the scenes that I picked. And I would love to get your feedback on the scenes I specifically picked and see what you think about them. So here we go. This is the first scene. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. Okay. So this is where Karen finds the card, and then we jump to the next scene where she's sitting on the couch.
Washing the dishes or something? Well, I'll take out the trash for you. Hi, Michael. Everybody, sit down. We're going out to dinner tonight. My treat. Your treat? It's a celebration.
Thank you. Yes, this is in accordance with fair use under YouTube's fair use policy. I forgot to say that, so now I'm gonna start that over so that I can do that correctly. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So this is in accordance with YouTube's fair use policy. Starting over, rewind. Alright, here we go.
Washing the dishes or something? Well, I'll take out the trash for you. Hi, Michael. Everybody, sit down.
I think this is where their family meetings actually started, because it's like, everybody sit down. And we'll see this a little bit later in, is it season 4? Mac and Karen get married? Yeah. So we'll see this a lot more with the Mac and Karen scenes as those progress. But yes, this is where the family meetings start, I think. So, and again, this is in accordance with YouTube's fair use policy.
We're going out to dinner tonight. My treat.
Your treat?
It's a celebration. We're having a baby, and I feel terrific.
That's wonderful.
That's better than wonderful.
I think I can tell when the character of Karen stops and then the actress of Michelle creeps in. And I don't know why, but I can just kind of tell. And I wish I could. I don't want to put it on camera because I don't want to get really stricken by CBS Studios or anybody else, but you can just kind of tell when, by her smile, where the character goes away and then Michelle comes in. You can kind of tell by her voice, right? Right? At co-host in the background, you can kind of tell by her voice. It's the changing of the voice for me, and it's her laugh. And I know that, on the podcast, her voice has changed as we all get older. Our voices change, but you can still kind of pick up on it, or even like in old interviews, you can tell when she's talking in interviews and when her voice changes a little bit. So, anyway, so I think at this point, this is where the character left and Michelle came in. That's just my opinion. You guys can say what you want at that point, but then she goes right back into character. Alright, and again, this is in accordance with YouTube's fair use policy. And when you say co-host in the background, like I don't know if you heard it, if you could hear it, but it was like right there. And I'll go back a little bit and I'll play it again and see if you can hear it.
Dinner tonight, my treat.
Your treat?
It's a celebration. We're having a baby and I feel terrific.
That's wonderful.
Better than wonderful.
Right there. When she said that, I feel terrific. I think that's where the character stopped being the character and it became Michelle. So that's just my opinion. And again, this is in accordance with YouTube fair use policy.
That's superb. Superb? Yeah, I think so too. Thanks to all of you.
Well, what for?
Yeah, we didn't have a chance to do anything.
Oh, yes, you did, sweetheart.
No, I take that back. I think this whole scene is Michelle. I don't think that this whole scene is Karen. I think this whole scene is Michelle's voice. It's not Karen's acting. Or it's not Karen. I think it's Michelle. And this whole aspect of this scene right here, after she says I feel terrific. I think that's all Michelle. I don't think it's Karen at all. That's just my opinion, but I could be wrong. And when we get to season 3, I have a bit of a backstory on a certain scene, and we'll talk about that. And that will, even though that scene is very emotional for me, I want to play that scene because we'll talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it when I recap it, but uh, when I'm breaking down the episode, but I'll talk about it when I when I play the scene. So again, this is in accordance with YouTube service policy.
I want this child because of the 3 I already have. Diana, the way you just step right up and tell it like it is. No holds barred.
That's how I am. Well, I try to be there. That's how I was with my case managers. I wonder if that's because of an older daughter. I wonder if that's an oldest daughter type of thing or an oldest child type of thing where we're just like very stubborn and just want to take on the world, especially as oldest daughters. We just want to do things just to get them done, and we don't want anybody to tell us no. And I think that oldest daughters may tend to butt heads with their mothers more than maybe like younger daughters. And I don't want to say all daughters, but I just think that was kind of like that. It was like this in my family, where I butted heads with my mom. But I think that's just because I'm an oldest daughter, and ironically, my mom was the middle daughter. So she didn't know how to deal with oldest daughter because she was a middle child. She was a middle child of 3 girls. So there you go. So anyway, so we kind of just butted heads, and I think this is where I can kind of see myself in a little bit of Diana. Yes, I'm very much Diana. What are you saying on Diana? I thought maybe I might be Michelle or Karen. I'm maybe a mix of both. But very stubborn, very stubborn, very very stubborn. And again, this is in accordance with YouTube's fair use policy.
And you, so suave and self-assured now. Not all the time. And Michael, my little innocent. You remind me of things I hope I never lose. Oh, I look at your kids and I see little bits of me. And then I watch me and I see parts of you.
And I kind of struggle with this part because I don't think I look like anybody in my family. People tell me that I look like my dad. People tell me that I look like my dad, but I don't see it. But that's just because of my disorder. Um, so therefore, I don't know who I look like. Um, I think if you take out the left side of my face, maybe you can tell me. But yeah, I don't know who I look like. My mom used to say that I have my dad's nose, but me having my dad's nose, can you imagine a female having a dad's nose? I don't know. But I'm more of, and I think my mom would say that I look like my dad because I have more of his personality. But I think that I have the way that I describe my personality is I have my a little bit of my dad's personality and a little bit of my grandmother's personality. And by my grandmother, I mean my mom's mom. So I think I'm about half and half. Like I, I think that my dad and my mom's personalities were very similar in a sense that they were both very loving, very giving, very trusting, and I think that has something to do with the southern aspect of it all because my mom's parents were from Tennessee, Kentucky. So while my dad's parents were from West Virginia, my mom's parents were from Tennessee, Kentucky, and then they also moved to Michigan. I don't want to say for the auto industry because my grandfather was a pipe fitter, so I want to say maybe they moved to Michigan for the job, for her jobs, and then my mom was born in Michigan. So while my dad was born in West Virginia, my mom was born in Michigan. So I think that I just had that southern hospitality built into me, and I think that that's where my dad and my mom's mom combined and then formed my personality in a sense to where I was nothing like my mom. I have my dad's handwriting. I'm very much as short as my grandmother was. Um, and it's just kind of like, and I just feel like I'm an old soul. And I think that that's that southern roots. And I think that that's why I always feel at home when I'm in the South because kind of brings me back to Taylor Lynn's song Coal Dust and how the blood of Kentucky rolls through her veins. Well, it's kind of like the blood of the South kind of rolls through my veins. And even though I'm from Michigan, I just have that southern stillness and stubbornness built into me. But that's just me, that's what I see, and that's why I feel at home when I'm in the South. Yes. So, anyway, so again, this is in accordance with YouTube series. We're almost done with this scene.
I said thank you. All right, that's it. Class dismissed. We have reservations for 6 o'clock.
And Karen is back. So this is when Karen comes back. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you think co-host in the background, but I think like at the beginning of the scene it was Karen, and then when she said I'm happy about it or I'm thrilled about it, that's when Michelle came in, and then this is when Karen comes back. That's just my opinion. All right, this is in accordance with YouTube service policy.
We need a bath. Mom?
Oh wait, Michelle comes back. This is in accordance with YouTube service policy. Excuse me.
I guess I've been acting pretty dumb lately, but I just didn't feel like sharing you with anybody else.
Well, I had the same reaction.
What?
Not sharing me with somebody else. Hey, I'm kind of hoping for a girl. How about you?
Me too. We're already too outnumbered as it is.
Oh, that wasn't Cal, that was Diana. Anyways, yes, that was sweet though. Um, but and I think that Karen didn't come back until it was in this one. That's just my opinion. I think it was I think that we started out with Karen, then we got Michelle up until the dinner scene. That's just my opinion. Co-host in the background, what do you think? Is that correct? Not correct? What? So, I'm going to go back to my YouTube. Well, first of all, I'm going to turn this down. Go back to my channel. So that is season 1, episode 10. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so this episode might be rather quick. Again, this episode is very self-explanatory. I'm just taking a look at my notes just to see. Yeah, this episode is not going to be very long. So we're at, I'm always correct, darling. No, I'm kidding. That's part of what my mom used to say. You always have to do right, don't you? So we are at episode 11, and this is Courageous Convictions. And this episode is a very Richard and Laura heavy episode. However, we do start off as a very Laura, Richard, and Diana instead heavy episode. So we are at the fair games for a poker game. And then Laura's father is visiting, and the game is very intense. Richard loses $18 to his father-in-law, Law. And then all of a sudden Richard gets a phone call, and he takes it upstairs. And then next we see that Diana brings a friend home, who's a guy, and introduces him to everyone. And then everyone is surprised that Sid and Karen let her have a guy upstairs with the door closed, I might add. I'm not sure about that. Oh, wait. Oh, no. I'll just leave this up. Okay. And then and then we learned that Richard loses a lot of money. I thought it was the stock market, but I think it had to do with oil shares or something. I'm not exactly sure. And that Richard did put in a lot of money. And then we see Diana and her friend kissing in her room. And then the guy is kind of pressuring her. And then Diana asks for a little bit more time. And then we jump to the Avery bedroom. And then they're getting ready for bed. And Richard sits on the bed and sits down a paper bag. Come to find out that it's a gift from Laura. Laura got him a nightshirt. And then they talk about the phone call at Sid and Karen's. And then we have Sid and Karen's, and they talk about Diana and her friend. And Sid doesn't want to know exactly how close that they are getting. And then Sid is telling Karen that he is missing money and that they are not sure where it is. And then we are back at the Ubers, and it is the next morning. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I take that back. Let's go back. So Sid is counting the money in his billfold, and Sid tells Karen that he is missing money because he had four $100 bills and now he only has three, and then doesn't know where it is, and then they get into bed, and then Sid asks Karen if she's going to turn off the light. Karen says, no, I want to see things, and Sid is like, well, no, it's after 1 o'clock. There's nothing here to see. And then they start kissing, and, well, you know. And then it's the next morning, we're back at the Ubers, and Jason is listening to his grandfather telling him the story. However, he has to ask Richard to give him a hello, and Richard says that he has to go to the club for a meeting, and then Laura's father asks Laura if he never takes a day off, and it's a Saturday, and Laura goes, this doesn't happen all the time. We're at the club. He's at the club for a meeting with his broker. I think it's a broker. I'm not sure. I don't deal with stock markets and bets and all that. Anyways, he's at the club with some guy talking about, and I think it is the oil shares. However, oil stocks, and then his broker tells him that he has a week to make good on his debts, and then he is encouraged to file for bankruptcy. But then Richard said that it could cost him his job. Next, we see Val, Laura, Val and Karen are Val, Laura, and Karen are shopping. However, Laura's credit card is rejected due to it being over the limit. And then Laura tells the girls that she will talk to Richard later. And then we see that Richard is with his accountant, and they can't find a way to make good with his bills or accountant. And again, bankruptcy is brought up. However, Richard said that he'll lose his job. And then Terry brings Diana home. They kiss, but again, it's asking about, when they're gonna, do more intimate. And Diana said that, just gotta find the right time, the right place. And Diana tells him that she'll see him tomorrow morning at 9:30. And then we're at the Ubers. Laura walks in on Richard going over the finances and tells Richard about them taking the bank card away at the shop. And then Richard tells her that Richard tells her that they have to raise $20,000, which $20,000 is a lot of money. And Laura asks, what are we going to do? And then it's the next morning. Diana walks down to the kitchen, tells him that she's going out with Terry, and she tells him that they care about each other so much more deeply than other couple. And then Sid does not know what to think about. Diana doesn't know what to do. And then Diana leaves, and then leaves with Terry on a motorcycle. I'm sorry, this episode is just kind of like all over the place. It's just horrible. And then Richard asked Laura to pick up food for a barbecue, which includes steaks and a whole lot of food that Laura doesn't think that they can afford. And then Terry brings Diana to the car shop where Terry's friend painted his car for him for $100. And then Diana, I didn't mention this, Diana said that, Did Diana figure this out at this time, or was it the next morning? I think it was the next morning Diana found out about it. Because Terry tells Diana that it was a gift from his grandmother that he casted in. Um, and then let me see. Then it's the next. And then we're at the barbecue starting, and Karen and Val are helping Richard. How Karen and Val are helping. Richard is taking orders for steaks and how well they are done. And then Richard asks Sid over for a drink, to get a drink and to talk with him. And he asks Sid for help again, for either for 5,000 or 10,000 from him. And Sid is concerned and tells Richard, I really don't have that money to help him out. And then Karen realizes that she's having a hard time with Diana growing up, and she is concerned about the talk that she may or may not have to have with Diana, and whether or not she has experimented already. Diana is at the Fairgates house with her boyfriend alone, which I don't know how I feel about that. And then Diana agrees to go to Terry's aunt's house with him the next day. And then Laura learns that Richard is asking their friends for money and is not happy about the situation. And Richard tells her to stay out of it. And then Sid goes up to Richard and says, okay, well, maybe I can help you with $5,000, but we'll make it legal this time. We'll sign notes and everything. And then we see that Richard messes up with the steaks, and everybody is laughing about it. And then Richard tells Laura that he needs help with the money situation, and that he wants Laura to ask her father to mortgage his house, and Laura doesn't want to do it because that's the only thing that her father owns outright, and he has no other bills at this time, so she doesn't want to ask him. And then Laura suggests that she could get a job or sell the house, and Richard is totally against it and doesn't want her help. And then we're at the Fairgates house, and this is when Diana learns that her father is missing $100, and it kind of clicks that Terry took it. And then she finds out because Karen asked Sid for some money to go pick up a few things on her way home. And then Terry sees Diana riding her bike home from school or the library, and then Terry asks if they were still going to his aunt's house, and Diana says, well, I need to ask you a question, and Terry says, shoot. And then she asks him about the money. Terry says that he didn't take the money, however, Diana doesn't believe him and runs away to home. And then we are at a scene where Richard goes to the park with Jason and Laura's father to ask for money from him, and her father says no. And then he says that he never owed a penny and never wants to owe a penny for anything. And we learned that Richard had borrowed money from him before, but never paid him back. He tells Richard that he wants the house to go to Jason and his other grandchildren. And then we're back at the Fairgates. Terry brought Diana's bike back and says that the fact that he took the money from her father has nothing to do with them. And Diana hits him, like slaps him, like, "Are you kidding me?" And then he leaves, and then Terry leaves. Richard, Hank, and Jason return home, and Jason told Laura that no one talked on the way home. And then Laura knows that Richard asked her father for a loan. Um, and Laura is mad at him. Laura tells Richard that she went to look for a job and found one. And Richard tells Laura that that is not going to happen, and and Richard gives him an ultimatum. And then Hank asks Laura what's wrong, and if everything is okay, and he apologizes to Laura, and he sees what he sees, and Laura breaks down and does not know what to do at this point. Um, Laura tells her that Richard needs help, but he won't take it from Laura. And then her father tells Laura that she was really there for him after her mother died, and she made Laura she made him take her help when she didn't want to, and really looked after him. And then we're in Diana's bedroom with Sid, and Diana tells Sid that she feels betrayed, and asks him, "Is that the way she will she will always feel?" And Sid goes, "Well, no." And she said that she will never forgive him, and Sid tells her that betrayal will always happen. It's a common thing with everybody. And then again, Sid is pursuing his future, I think, a little bit here, although he doesn't know it. Sid tells Diana that she needs to be honest. If she's going to have this moral compass, then she needs to be honest with all of her relationships. And then we're back at the Avery's house, and Laura comes through. Her father comes through for Laura, and then we're back at the fair gates, and Diana tells Terry that it's over between them, and that they can no longer be together, and that she doesn't trust him, but that she will be closed off. A little bit of her will be closed off from him from now on because of what happened. And then she wants him to know that she'll be friends with him, but they could never be more than that. Terry tells Diana that he had some money, that he took a lot of crap from his father about it, and Diana tells him that the money that he didn't take the money from her, and then Diana walks into the house. And then Terry waits around for Sid, and then we are back at the Avery's, and Richard comes home and Laura gives him a martini, and Laura tells Richard that she wants to work with Richard on trying to figure out this money issue. Hold on a second, it's getting dark here. We're expecting some rain, so just bear with me. I gotta turn on the light, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to finish. Hopefully, with this thunderstorm, the rain will cool down the weather here in Michigan. It's been hotter than hot. So again, however, Richard feels that he's an old-fashioned guy where he has to feel like he's taking care of the house, his family, and all that. Otherwise, he's failed. And Laura tells him, "Well, don't you see? I hate to tell you this, honey, but you have failed. And what's even more, you failed by not by getting us in this hole. You failed by by not letting me help you, and by not telling me about it. So, and by not letting me be a part of the solution." And then Richard said that, he is old fashioned and just believes that a man should be able to take care of his house. Um, um, and then we see that and then he rips up the check that Laura got from her father. And Laura cries. Then we see that Richard almost makes a stupid mistake. He drives by a car, and we learn later on that this is his dream car. But he drives by a car, he sees a for sale sign, he writes down the number, and then he throws the number away. And I started to write down Richard makes a stupid mistake, and then I saw that he threw the number away. So then I put he almost made a stupid mistake. And then Richard comes home and he tells Laura what happened and the fact that, he's willing to accept her help, but he doesn't want her to take away his dreams. And that he's always felt ordinary. However, when he does these things, like wants to get a car, wants to have these dreams, that's when he feels extraordinary. And then, so before I go to the closing line, Terry does return the money to Sid by the end of the episode. So then that kind of closes out that storyline. And then Laura, is happy that Richard is willing to accept her help and the fact that Laura is going to go to work to help with the money situation. And then Laura says Laura turned out the light. Although I don't know if anything happened like what happened with Sid and Karen. I don't know. I think maybe it's implied, but I'm not 100% sure. Because Laura says, "You're wearing the nightshirt." And she goes, "Well," and Christian makes a joke and says, "Well, now that I'm not wearing the pants in the family anymore," which I thought was pretty funny. And so that's the end of the episode. So, co-host in the background, what did you think of that episode? Sorry, I talked my throat dry. I did it so fast. Because I want to get to episodes 12 and 13. And I'm going to end this one and start another one for those two episodes. Especially since I don't know if I'm going to have internet here in a minute. So I just kind of want to finish this out and then start the next stream. And then we'll go from there. But in the meantime, let me do a rundown of a couple. So this episode was very Laura and Richard heavy and Diana and Terry heavy. We only saw Sid and Karen a little bit. The one thing that I do want to say about Sid and Karen is that we're seeing a lot more affection in these episodes. Like, I think that they just need to find their ground. And they need to know how much. I think the directors need to know how much they could push the envelope with their characters. And I think the more that the nightgowns that Karen was wearing was accepted, the more that they could do with the Sid and Karen characters. Because I never understood how, let's say, Richard and Susan soon got away with things, and then Val and Gary soon got away with things, and even Kenny and Ginger, but with Sid and Karen it was a little bit different. I'm wondering how much of that was comfortableness of partners that knew Karen and the comfort level of the actors of Sid and Karen, because I don't know if they fully trusted one another. I don't know if the actors MicheleLee and Don Murray ever really fully trusted each other 100%. Because like I said before, Don Murray was such a straight actor, played by the rules, wanting to make sure that the scenes got done correctly, So whereas Karen came from a Broadway stage and she knew that there was always room for ad-libbing and being playful and all that stuff. So I think that they had to find their footing, and I think more towards the end of season one, they did find that, but it wasn't the comfort level that I think that Michelle and Kevin had from day one. From day one, they had from season one, episode one, they had that chemistry. So I don't think that Don and Michelle had that chemistry from day one, from when they first met. So I think that there's that aspect of it. Um, so again, I think that they just brought them a little. They were able to play around with it a little bit more um, as the season went on. And I don't know because I haven't seen season two in a while, so I don't know how season two unfolds. I do know that the first two episodes are very dramatic, and then very heavy hitting as well. In season one and season two, episodes one and two, because that's also a two-parter. As like episodes 12 and 13 of season one. Um, I don't think we saw Val and I don't think we saw Gary at all. No, we saw Gary at the barbecue, but we really didn't see Val and Gary all that much, or Kenny and Ginger all that much either. So I don't have a lot to say on them. I think the whole this episode was very Richard Laura driven and very Terry, Diana, and Sid driven. And I think that again they played the whole um, Diana and boyfriend character off of the Laura and Richard characters very well. Um, I think that the way that Diana has learned her lesson is very humbling. I think that was a good way to give a little bit more character to Diana and to what we're going to see in season two coming up. Because again, I don't think this is Karen and Sid's kids and season and the next two episodes. I think it's just the adults in the next two episodes. Um, so anyway, so co-host in the background, what did you think? Oh, so my breakdown of Richard and Laura. So again, it's this whole coming uh, this whole 9 to 5 era where women are in the workplace and men think that women can't do what men can do, and the fact that Richard doesn't want Laura to go to work because he's too prideful about it, and the fact that Laura should stay at home, help raise Jason, and he's very opposed to Laura going back to work. That's uh, very old fashioned, and I think that again, with the time that the show came out, it is very time timing for it that is very relatable for that time period. But I think too it's also relatable for this time period, because I think in some ways we're kind of going backwards a little bit, especially with this whole sense of content creators, like, and this day and age with the millennials and the Gen Zs, and the fact that women are considered to be stay-at-home moms, but they're not really stay-at-home moms. They're stay-at-home moms who do content creation. So I think that we're kind of going backwards, and I think, or with the whole I think that we're seeing a lot more crime of spouse on spouse crime because of the whole content creator verse, or more issues with children because moms are staying at home. They're trying to be content creators. They put their children in the videos. I think that that is hindering our society, and I think that that's showing again the children that are being raised up today that they don't need to get a real job, that they can just go onto YouTube or TikTok or whatever and their content. Now, this is something, and I say that, and I'm laughing at myself because, what am I doing right now? But this isn't my full-time job. This is a hobby that I'm doing, and I don't care if I make money. This is something that I want to do for myself, and I hope that it is helping with my speech because I do realize that number one, I talk fast, and number two, I'm not clear enough. So I'm hoping that this will help improve my speech so that I can become a lot more clearer and a lot more vocal, and that I can use my voice because I don't talk to anyone during the day. My brother lives up north, and I don't really talk to him on the phone. I text most of the people that I deal with, like my boss. I text. Most people that I call are people that patients that I call for insurances to status claims, and sometimes I can't even get through to that because of my voice. So this is more of a therapy for me, and it's more of something to get me to do something because I'm one that has to be busy. If I'm not busy, then I just kind of get run down. Um, so I just kind of do this to help keep my mind moving and to help give me something to do, I guess. And I kind of enjoy that. And I don't care if I get traction on my channel. It is what it is. I mean, I would love to, but it's not what I want to do. No, that's not something that I'm counting on because, hey, I know my voice isn't that great. I know that I'm hard to understand sometimes. I know that I don't clam up. I know that I'm not going to be very popular on YouTube, and that's okay. I don't care. Um, so I think as long as I recognize that, then I'm all good. It's all good in the hood. I I think I might start taking these videos, trying to figure out how to do shorts of some of the best parts of the videos, and then uploading those. And if that's how I earn, if that's how I grow traction on my channel, then that's great. Like there's a short that I did yesterday that has like over 1,000 views on it. I'm like, great, that's amazing. I love it. And if you want to see what I look like, just go to my shorts. It's right there. Hello. Not what I look like right now, but it's what I did look like, a couple of years ago. So go look at that. So I think that we just have to get to the point to where it's okay for women to work. It's okay for women to show, and even stay-at-home fathers. It's okay for both parents to be working. Heck, I come from a household that was once a two-parent work household, and my mom was already working when she met my dad. So my dad wasn't going to make her give up her job. She was a special ed teacher. She wasn't going to give up her job. And the only reason why she became a teacher is because if she ever did have kids, she would want to be she wanted to be home during the summer with her kids. And that's exactly what she did. And then my dad was able to take off time from the auto plant to go on vacation. So there's that. So I did come from a two-parent working household up until I was 12, and then we unexpectedly lost my dad, and it became a one-person working household, but it wasn't by any means, it wasn't a decision that was made by my parents. It was a decision that was made for my mama, Sorry, I also stutter, so I do apologize, but that was a decision that was made from my mom. It wasn't made between two people. So that's the difference. Um, and I think that that's why I'm very strong. I'm very opinionated with the fact that I believe in a two-parent working household. And if you can make money, good money on YouTube or on TikTok and still show your kids the work ethic that they need to be so so that they know that hey, YouTube may not always work out. YouTube's not gonna do that for everyone. And it's not gonna work out, and eventually I've heard this saying before, like, you can have a great YouTube income one day and then the next day it'll be all gone. I mean, look at some of the YouTubers that have had problems with someone. I mean, come on. It is what it is. So I think that this storyline is very prevalent in today's society and that it's just, again, it needs to be talked about a lot more about. Um, so that is my psychoanalysis of episode 11. Uh-oh. Snowball's getting scared. He's decided to come to sit up for me. Um, So I'm gonna play this soon. Co-host in the background. Do you have any thoughts, concerns, or feelings about this, or thoughts about what I said, or anything like that? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this soon from this episode. That's YouTube again. Let me check something out here. Mm-hmm. Well, that was a little bit weird. Sure, okay. I had to check my messages to see if you said anything on the messages. Co-host in the background. Okay. So, little small surprises. Okay. Let me just make sure I have the right scene. Okay. Alright, so here's the scene from this next episode. This is in accordance with YouTube series policy. And this is a scene that I love. I'm not sure who it's between. Let me see. So here we go.
We'll see.
I've trusted him as much as I.
Oh, this is the scene with Sid and Diana. This scene brings me all the feels because this is what I think that how my relationship with my dad would have developed had he been around, when I was Diana's age. And then we'll get into that in episodes 12 and 13.
Ever trusted any boy. It's not worth it, Daddy.
Does that mean you're never going to trust anybody again?
Just men. Boys. Only I could understand why he took it.
Did he tell you why?
He said it was there, and so he took it. No reason. And that even made me madder. I'm never going to speak to...
Dang, I was mad too, Diana. That's just me. I was mad too. I kind of feel like Diana in this moment. Just because this is kind of why I have my my guard up about, oh god, the YouTuber that I was waiting on is not going live until later. Yay! So I can definitely do 12 and 13. Okay, so this is kind of why I have my guard up. When I was about, not just with my surgeries, but I always felt like I was taken advantage of, used, made fun of, all this stuff. And so this is kind of like where I can relate with Diana because I feel like I can relate with her due to the fact that I did feel used. But I didn't know how to express it because I was too young, or I didn't know. I wasn't. I don't want to say that. Well, I'll say this: I was socialized, but I was socialized with older adults. I was socialized with doctors, nurses, dentists, and then older adults. I wasn't necessarily socialized with my own peers. So I didn't know what it was like to be around people my own age. So therefore, I felt like I was being used, and I felt like I was being taken advantage of. So right here in this scene with Diana, I just kind of feel like, just I felt used. I felt like I feel for her. This is where my high sensitivity person comes into play because I feel it. I feel for Diana. And again, this is in accordance with YouTube's fair use policy.
As long as I live.
That's going to be kind of tough since you see each other every day at school.
I'll apply myself. I don't talk to crooks.
Is that why you're so angry? Because he committed a...
You can tell that Diana was a good student because she was like, I'll apply myself. That's such a straight A student thing to say. Just saying. Okay. We're back with an accordance with YouTube fair use policy.
Cry?
Yes! No. That he came into our house. And he took advantage of our going together, and then he robbed us.
And you feel betrayed.
Yes.
So, because of that, you're never going to forgive him.
You're not going to tell me that's wrong, are you?
No, not at all. It's not wrong. Betrayal is a terrible...
This is kind of like what Karen was saying in the last episode, where Diana just says whatever's on her mind. Whatever's on her mind, and just no holds bar, and just tells it like it is. Just hands down, Diana. Hands down. And again, this is in accordance with YouTube fair use policy. Hi to the second person who's watching this. I don't know who you are. I would love for you to comment. Alright, this is in accordance with YouTube fair use policy.
thing, but I want to tell you something, and I hate to say this, but it's true. Betrayal's not all that rare.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it happens to everybody. And sometimes even people that love each other very much. Husbands and wives are unfaithful sometimes. Businessmen cheat their partners, and friends betray secrets. When you find out, it always hurts, but that doesn't always mean it's the end of a marriage or the end of a partnership or the end of a friendship. Sometimes people forgive.
I don't feel like forgiving.
Okay, then don't. But
I hold grudges sometimes. I don't want to forgive myself sometimes because the situation doesn't always call for it. I always say I can be your best friend or your worst enemy. I can be there for you. I can show you love. I can welcome you in. But the moment that you betray me or you hurt me, that's it. I'm done. And that's what I would tell my clients and my consumers all the time. I'm like, I can fight for you. I can be there for you. I can help you. I can provide you resources. I can work with you on some skills. But the moment that you lie to me or you don't tell me the truth or you're not honest with me, that's it. I'm done. I can't help you if you're not going to help yourself. And I was very strict. I was very strong on this. So therefore, that's where I'm at with that. And I still kind of feel that way today, but I don't really deal with a lot of people that in my life that I work with or that I talk with to really, have that issue. Because I think the people that I have in my life right now, I can trust wholeheartedly. So I'm with Diana on this one. It's hard to forgive and to welcome somebody back into the fold after so much has happened. So, anyways, so and again, this is in accordance with YouTube fair use policy. I'm just stopping talking about it, and then just restarting it.
I want to tell you something. If you're going to be that rigid, then you just better be sure that you are absolutely above reproach yourself in all your relationships, all your friendships, all the time.
What am I going to say to him, Daddy?
Why don't you just let him know that, though you're deeply hurt, you're not going to turn your back on him? Maybe if he's as bright and as sensitive as he seems to be, he'll realize that stealing hurts the thief as well as the victim. And maybe he'll wipe his slate clean some way. At least you'll be giving him the chance to try.
And scene. I just love that scene. I just love as much crap as I just said and Don Murray, I just, that scene right there just melts my heart. Because again, that's how I would think that my relationship with my dad would have been had I had that if I was Diana days and I grew up with that. But, hey, everything happens for a reason, and I think that, that my dad did give me something. My dad did give me the love of country music. He did give me that foundation to where, eventually I met people in my life that, later in my 30s and so on, that I am now close to and love with unconditionally and would do anything for them. I just feel that, that I still wear a necklace that says Daddy's Little Girl on it. I still wear it. And I'm 45 years old, so I am forever Daddy's Little Girl because when he passed, I was still Daddy's Little Girl. So I still wear this. And this is the only piece of jewelry that I have left. Is this. Okay. No problem. So yeah. So that's that. So again. Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Okay, then great. So yeah. So that's all I have for these 2 episodes. And then, like I said, I'm going to end this stream. I just want to take a look at something. And then I'll come right back with episodes 12 and 13. Just go ahead, leave your comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it out. And I would love to get your comments in the comment section down below. I have the podcast of the We're Not Done podcast listed below. And then I also have the Studio Circle channel linked down below, so you can go check those 2 things out. And I will see you all in a few minutes. And again, thank you so much for watching on the playbacks. I do see that I'm going and doing my shorts, especially the one that I put out last night. I think that has the most view so far, and I cannot be any more prouder. As again, that kind of talks about my dad's relationship with me, and so therefore that specific short is very special to me. So, anyways. So I will go ahead, leave, and this one out, leave, and then come back shortly. So be on the lookout for the next live in a couple minutes. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.